Yes, hello everybody and welcome once again to the Brink episode 24 of the most Brinkaliciously awesome podcast on the entire net of the inter, and it's a huge pleasure to be back with you once again. My name is Ben. I don't know if I ever introduced myself enough on this show. I just assume that three people who do listen to this program might actually be aware of my name. But we have another big show today, guests galore, memories galore, and so much so you can poke a Brink and stick at. And before we get into our first bit, because I made a promise on last week's show, and I'm going to keep that promise in just a few moments, I just want to send a special shout out to our Italian listeners. We always seem to talk up our American listeners in various parts of the States, but looking at our listenership stats throughout the week, we've got some listeners over in Italy, particularly in a place called Monte, and now I've tried to Google Monte to basically find out whereabouts this is, but according to Google, it doesn't actually exist. There's mountains and regions and all this sort of stuff in Italy called Monte, but it's not actually a city or a town. So if you are listening to us from the Monte area of Italy, again, feel free to shoot us an email, say hello, and just let us know what brings you to listening to this random Australian podcast. Maybe we're just so big in Italy that they just like to play it down a little bit, so one sneaks through every now and then before you know it, the statistics have to show through. So I think it's buongiorno is the correct terminology for hello in Italy. You think I would have prepared for this and maybe looked it up beforehand, but that's about it. I will say I'm a huge fan of Ferrari, and I also really like pizza. So thank you, Italy, for tuning in to the Brink. It's a pleasure to have you on board. I made a promise on the show last week that we would bring the following segment back, and I like to keep my promises. So without further ado, the first time we've heard this theme in a very long time. Wow, this is news! Yes, the segment where we go over silly news and bring it to you because you love to hear it. And it's sort of a rehashed version of our old segment, Fail or No Fail on the Brink, but this time it's just me talking, and I don't generally say fail or no fail at the end of it. But we're bringing you 5 stories here this week from mirror.co.uk, so there's a bit of an English vibe, of course, as always, to a lot of these stories. And we're starting off with a man who has kept a whole collection of chocolate bars, including ones that have Spice Girls and Westlife on them from the 1990s. Now, to really make this sound super English, and maybe a lot of people might not get these references, this article starts off by saying, we can no longer tuck into Cadbury Dreams, Aztecs, or Orange Drifters should a craving hit us while we're watching Coronation Street. That is a very English way to start the sentence. But a man in Wales has been stashing limited edition chocolate bars for decades, including, as I mentioned, some with Westlife and Spice Girls on the wrappers. Why they would put them on chocolate bars, I have no idea. Lester Hughes from Philhalle has bags and boxes full of the stuff and has even been offered £40 for his special Star Wars themed bars. Some even went out of date in the early 1990s, and he stopped collecting them more than 15 years ago when he had a freezer disaster, but he still has a cellar full of them. The 47-year-old father of 2 told the Daily Post, I can't remember exactly why I started collecting. I think I saw a limited edition on a bar and thought, why not buy it and save it? Which is, I guess, a very interesting way. There's actually pictures here of Westlife and Spice Girls bar. He then adds, it then became a bit of an obsession, and I actively went looking for limited edition chocolate bars to buy. I decided to put them in my freezer, but then it got to the point where I had more chocolate in my freezer than actual food. That's crazy. It was like this for a few years until my freezer broke, so I put them in bags and boxes and took them down to the cellar. I've not checked on them, but some go back 20 to 25 years. I have no plans to start collecting them again. I'm not sure I have the space in the freezer to keep them anymore or willpower to eat them now. Well, I kind of think that'd be a bit off by now. There's some here with Star Wars Episode 1 on it, Jar Jar Binks on a chocolate bar, sure, why not? Well, hey, look, we all got to collect something every now and then, so just, again, don't eat them. That's kind of scary what would happen. Alright, moving on. A beach that washed away 33 years ago has suddenly reappeared. A freak tide dumped hundreds of thousands of tons of sand back onto the shores of the Irish village of Dougar on the Achill Island, recreating a stunning 300-metre-long beach. The beach vanished during the spring storms of 1984 after waves washed away all the sand, leaving behind nothing but rock pools. With their beautiful beach washed away, many nearby hotels, guest houses and cafes were forced to shut down. But now, miraculously, the beach has returned after tons of sand was dumped on the beach over 10 days in April. Locals are hoping it sticks around long enough for the beach to be given a blue flag status during the year's next inspection. So this is interesting. Just looking here, yeah, you can see there's a whole bunch of rocks in one photo. Just kind of looks like, yeah, you wouldn't really want to go swimming there. And now all of a sudden, there is a heap of sand on there. It's kind of freaky to think that that can kind of get washed away and come back like that. So you got to hope that, yeah, it sticks around and they might bring back their beach tourism to this little town in Ireland. I didn't realise that was a thing. Irish beach tourism. So there you go. Hello to our Irish listeners out there. Hope you're having a fantastic day. All right, let's move on to a woman on a car. That sounds like an anonymous start. I can't even pronounce words yet, Ben. A woman has clung to the windscreen of her husband's car as he drove off with another woman. The bizarre incident was captured on film as the car drove through busy traffic and the woman screamed at her man from outside the windscreen. I'm trying to work out where this actually is. It doesn't say where it is. However, that did not stop him. The man drove... it's in South Africa. There we go. That works, Ben. The man drove off with the woman in the passenger seat and his wife on the windscreen clinging on for dear life, the Daily Sun reports. The incident occurred at Tasmar Road in Mamelodi in Pretoria in South Africa. Nora Piche posted footage of the incident on Facebook. This woman found her man with a side chick, she wrote. She somehow jumped on the car and the idiot protecting his side chick so badly drove with her on his bonnet. And there's footage of this woman on sort of like a white, I think it's a Volkswagen, driving. Wow, okay. I guess that's sort of news. But anyway, this is meant to be the silly news section. All right, let's move on to something a little bit disgusting and something that you probably would be happy that you are listening to this on audio and not watching this, because I'm telling you now, this footage that I'm looking at right now is nasty. Footage has emerged of a live eel being pulled from a patient's body. The video shows doctors extracting the animal from the patient's stomach during an operation. The eel still appears to be alive, wriggling as it's extracted. The clip appears to have been shot in China and may not be the first footage to emerge from a recent case reported around the world involving a man with constipation. Wow, that's really going to make you feel a bit terrified next time you can't do a poo. The Chinese man, 49, was said to have almost died using a folk remedy to treat his constipation by inserting the eel. Oh wow, I wasn't expecting it to go this direction. Into his bum. But the plan turned ugly when the man suffered stomach pain and was forced to ask doctors to help remove the slithery eel, appearing to measure about half a metre. This isn't no tiny eel, people. This is a half a metre eel put up his butt and sucked into his stomach. The man had claimed the eel swam up inside him by itself, but later confessed he put it there. The man has also suffered a punctured pancreas in the drama. Okay. Wow. I don't even know where to begin with this. First of all, a half a metre eel in this guy's stomach. That is beyond insane. This footage was freaking me out before I even read the details. The fact that he's gone into the hospital and be like, yeah, guys, yeah, I'm really in pain. An eel accidentally climbed up my ass. I mean, look, it doesn't even work as an excuse when you say you've stuck a G.I. Joe up there. A live eel? Come on, people. Like, really? I love how it says here, but later confessed he put it there. Where does that confession come from? Like, oh, by the way, guys, lol, kidding, I actually got bored and shoved an eel up my butt. Look, I'm not here to laugh at ancient Chinese customs and traditions. I'm sure it serves a purpose. But I want to know the purpose of putting an eel up your ass to essentially cure constipation. I mean, like, does it clear the bowels and, like, how, China, how? That is freaky. That is just not good. I want to see this footage. Actually, no, I really don't want to see this footage. This guy getting an eel shoved up his ass. And what does he think is going to happen? It's half a metre long. At what point does he turn around and think, oh, well, surely at some point it will die inside of me and I'll just poop it out later? That is beyond ridiculous. Human beings are stupid people. We are stupid creatures. This is, you don't see dogs shoving eels up their butt. They just sniff other people's butt. We think that butt sniffing in dogs is wrong or sick. It's pretty tame compared to shoving eels up your ass. My God. I've got to calm down. Maybe we do need fail or no fail. From one bizarre video to another, basically, as I said, sometimes you might be glad that you're not seeing what I'm seeing, but this one's kind of cute. I'm seeing a field filled with Pikachus. at the moment, which, is always a positive thing. Now, a Pikachu performer was removed from a state in a Secret Service-style tackle at the World Pokemon Festival. Now, the dancer is joined by 14 others in the same Pikachu outfit. Just right now, imagine 14 giant Pikachus dancing on a field, and that's what I'm seeing right now. Bopping along nicely to the tune of "You Can't Stop the Beat" from the musical Hairspray, things seem to be running smoothly. But just seconds into the clip, the performer takes a very serious turn when the performer's outfit begins to deflate. Yes, I am seeing a deflated Pikachu right now. Men dressed in secret-style suits run onto the stage and tackle him to the back of the group. The odd scene was captured by an audience member at the World Pokemon Festival held in Songdo, South Korea. Every year, thousands of Pokemon fans gather to celebrate their love of the cartoon. Pokemon has experienced a huge surge in popularity since the release of Pokemon Go across the world. This is just telling you about what it is. Now, really, this doesn't give me any more details except for the fact that Pokemon Go is having an update soon. Yeah, so basically this footage involves dancing Pikachus before one is promptly tackled by a man in a suit. Now, I'm going to... There's literally... The Pikachu is right at the front that's deflating. Now, he's looking very sad. All of a sudden, like, all these Pikachus are dancing, and then out of nowhere, these 2 guys in suits literally shove... Now, 3 guys, 4 guys in suits... 5 guys, 6, 7, there's 7, 8 guys who've come out of nowhere and have dragged this Pikachu up the back like as if to say, and he looks so sad because this Pikachu is so deflated. Wow, that is definitely erased the memory of an eel being pulled out from a guy's stomach. The fact that I've got now 13 very happy giant Pikachus dancing and bopping around. And seeing about 8 guys in Secret Service suits just taking one out. If only they'd pulled out their weapons and just started shooting, that would have made that video even better. We're done. We're out of here. That's Wow This News. Haven't you missed that segment? Haven't you missed that segment? Oh, we'll have to bring it back more often. Thank you for joining us in that segment. Even though we're not going anywhere, we've got more Brink to come after this. Another week, another time to cross the Dutch and find out what's happening in our favourite neighbour that isn't Papua New Guinea. Of course, I speak of New Zealand, and when you think of New Zealand, you think of 2 things. You think of sheep and Nick Chester. Nick, welcome back to the Brink.
Not like in that order together, like they're 2 separate things, eh?
Well, you and I both entered a sheep in New Zealand, so...
We did.
We definitely have that in common, but do
people know what you mean when you say that, or do we need to clarify a little bit more?
Well, of course, we would assume that everybody listening to the show are big fans of the Brink Unleashed, and they, of course, can watch the Brink Unleashed 6 New Adventures to see us enter a sheep together, Nick. So
we don't want to spoil the surprise in case people haven't seen it.
And if you haven't seen it, it is now available on youporn.com. That's what it sounds like.
EWE porn.
Yes. That is the New Zealand porn channel, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is that YouTube in New Zealand? Is spelled EWE tube.
Yeah.
This week on YouTube, God, it feels good to make sheep jokes. It's been a while since I've done that. I've been too nice to New Zealand recently, I feel. You, Nicholas, have conducted an amazing feat on the weekend, at least at the time of recording this. You walked, sounds like pretty much around New Zealand. I think you did a 22-kilometre walk, which, that's about 5 laps of the North Island, I feel. How did you go, and what was this for?
Well, it was for fun, believe it or not. Like some people might not quite believe that, but no, I did the Waitomo Trail run, which I walked. I didn't run. So last year I did it, and we did the 11k version. I thought I'd up the ante this year and try the 22k, and so it took us 6.5 hours, I think, to walk the 22k. So yeah, it was a pretty massive endurance test for me. For a lot of people, it would be just a walk in the park, but I actually felt pretty good afterwards. I didn't feel too hammered or anything like that, but it was lots of walking over farmlands and through some native New Zealand bush and through a few caves and all that kind of stuff, and there was a hell of a lot of mud, so a lot of the time we were kind of sliding down on our ass to get to where we needed to be. But yeah, no, it was a really good time. Really enjoyed it. Always nice to tick one off the list to say you've done something cool like that. It was awesome.
And of course, if you speak to your grandparents, they would tell you the story about, I used to walk 22 kilometres to school back in the day. You have nothing on that.
Yeah, exactly.
This was you and I visited this area, I believe, when we were in New Zealand. I mean, again, we joke about the Brink Unleashed 6. If you want to see the adventures of Nick and I travelling through New Zealand, you can see that on that film, and also some of our older podcast episodes, of course, we're talking about it. But this was is it the Waikamo? I forget things, Nick. I'm old. I don't remember these things. What was the name of the place? And this is where all the glowworms were, right?
Yeah, the Waitomo Caves. So you can do tours through there, and you kind of go and look at all the limestone caves, which are pretty cool. And you see the glowworms and that kind of thing. I think you quite enjoyed it. But yeah, they also do like this run, and it was only the second year they've done it. So last year was the inaugural race, and did that one. And so yeah, we're doing it again for the second year, and yeah, it was lots of fun. And I was just thinking, you cross through about 6 different farms, and you cross through the river, and you're covered in mud, and you're getting scratches and all that kind of stuff. It was good training for something. I'm not entirely sure what, but it was good training for something. 22
kilometres is what, halfway to a marathon? You're nearly there.
Yeah. Well, the next stage up is a 35K, and I wouldn't be able to walk that in a day. That you'd actually lose the light. You wouldn't be able to walk it. So I mean, it's definitely something to think about for next year. Is do I want to really go for it and try and run the 35K? I think it's probably a little bit outside my abilities at the moment, but you never know. Give it a go.
Well, why not? I say go for it. Exactly. I think that. I admire that, Nick. I used to bushwalk when I was younger, but we used to just do piddly little things. I kind of learned all about, bushwalks. I remember Louise's dad was an avid bushwalker, and it's one thing that Tasmania really has going for it. We have plenty of bushwalking trails, and it's sort of a bushwalking mecca. A lot of people who love their bushwalks do come here. But he used to go on these sort of 3-4 day hikes, and always show me the photos, of him like traversing cliffs that if he slips, he'll like fall like 20 meters to his death. But he's just, casually, that's just what we do. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool.
Well, you guys have to worry about the snakes and stuff as well. We don't even have to worry about that. There's nothing out there that's going to try and kill us.
An angry sheep or something like that. But
yeah, I guess so. It'd have to be pretty angry.
Well, this is the thing. You're one of only 2 countries in the world that don't have snakes.
Yeah.
Which is a fascinating thing. I don't know why that doesn't get talked about more. Maybe it's just, again, living in Australia, we're just like, snakes. It's just kind of like oxygen. We know they're there, and well, I guess it's not like oxygen. You probably don't need snakes to survive, but it's kind of an interesting thing that somehow New Zealand has escaped the wrath of the snake.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure how we did that, but don't look at me. I didn't do science or anything like that. Well, I did. I did, but I spent the whole time playing poker at the back of the classroom. So yeah, I still passed. I'm not quite sure how, but only just.
The New Zealand education system clearly doesn't have that high of a standard when it comes to science.
Yeah, I haven't needed to use science too much, so I've gotten away with it so far.
I'm not sure you've had to commonly use poker though.
No, definitely not.
Right. It's interesting actually. Kind of looking. We take this segment a bit of fun, get a bit of an update, and kind of want to get a bit of an update on things in New Zealand. And we're going to do this this tagline sort of quiz we've been doing over the last few weeks. But just quickly, I've googled New Zealand because we always want to see in terms of the news that's happening. Now, this is actually a story that is just fresh off the press, including looking at this right now at time of recording this 44 minutes ago. Now, you would obviously be aware, you're a John Oliver fan, and you obviously live in New Zealand, so you obviously were aware of the fact that Eminem was going to sue your country for using "Lose Yourself," I believe, in an ad campaign during your election a few years ago. But apparently this court case has just started, Nick. Is this making big news over there? Because it's making news here in Australia that Eminem, as you would say, according to John Oliver, has finally... this is in court now. It's taken 2 years, 3 years, but here we go. Eminem versus New Zealand.
Well, maybe this is the reason our Prime Minister actually stepped down. Maybe this is what it's all about. We're finally finding out that, he had to step aside because of this. Now, I don't know. I haven't heard too much about it. But yeah, it's obviously one of those things that, it pops up when it becomes an issue and it goes to court. But I don't think anybody really cares about the outcome. I don't think, if the National Party, who's our party that's in power at the moment, if they end up being found guilty of whatever the hell they've been found guilty of, I don't think anybody's going to change their vote because of it. It's not something like that, I don't think.
I think it's interesting that the way they pass it off as Eminem versus New Zealand. I guarantee you Eminem has no fucking idea this is happening. It's his record label that are doing it. And they're saying here that they've had to play it into a court, 9 lawyers in New Zealand, to sort of, say that this is it. This is the song. The party is saying that it's a sound-alike, but I love here the fact that this party involved, the National Party, typically is trying to blame Australia. The party has previously said it purchased the track through an Australian-based supplier and does not believe it has infringed copyright. The National Party wanted a song that was edgy and modern, but showed the party was dependable. Gary Williams, the lawyer for Eminem's music publishers 8 Mile Style and Martin Affiliated, told the High Court in Wellington he said the music fared better with focus groups than a classical piece. So, wow, that is... I mean, I basically learned about this story from John Oliver. And then the fact that apparently here, that back in 2014, which I think is sort of the joke behind what John Oliver was saying, that the politician said the song was pretty legal when it came to being used. I just think this is great for New Zealand because you guys are getting in the news internationally. John Oliver talks about you more than he talks about Australia. So
I always try and find the clips about Australia from John Oliver, and it's only that one about the about Johnny Depp's dogs. Yeah. That's the only one that to make the news. It
is funny though, because I've been rewatching him, going back and watching the old episodes to catch up, and I just saw that episode. I think I'd seen that clip years ago, but I do like the sort of little video that they do where they basically are, saying about holding all things Australian hostage or whatever it is, and then it's just kind of like, except for Hugh Jackman, he's like, he's awesome. We like Hugh Jackman. What is he like when he does his jokes referencing countries? And one time he's like, New Zealand, was it New Zealand? Like Australia's Australia, or Australia's Florida. I don't know. You've seen it more than I have. I know what I'm trying to say.
It was something like that, and it was pretty funny. I mean, you can't help but laugh at John Oliver. He gets a pass. He's allowed to make fun of us.
Yeah, I mean, I've just literally seen the dildo episode again. When what is it? Got the Hallelujah chorus people out. The dildo, it's a dildo. There's context there, people. Clearly, the dildo getting thrown at the politician. Is he still a politician in New Zealand? That guy got the dildo thrown at him.
Yeah, I think he's like our finance minister or something.
Oh, shit. Wow. What is it about New Zealand and dicks? I mean, you've got dildos, you've got... Tell me this isn't your penis. I mean, are you guys just the hidden dick country or something like that?
Yeah. There's so much penis action going on here.
Wow, that went somewhere. All right, Nick, let's close this out by you giving me some trivia. So again, just for people who have no idea what this is, we started this a couple of weeks ago. Nick is going to give me some movie taglines which are on posters of, I hope, famous movies, not like, New Zealand's hidden sleeper hit of 2003. And I've got to try and guess what this movie is. Now, again, I will honestly admit I'm sitting here. I haven't got Google ready to go. I'm not cheating on this. And the first week you did it was based off the top 40 grossing films of all time. Last week you kind of just went for the random route. Are you going the random route this year? Is there a theme behind these movies this week?
No, I think I like a random route, so we're going to keep going along that road. But
who doesn't, Nick? Who doesn't?
But they will be movies that I think are at least well known. I'm not going to pull out like really abstract, subtitled Albanian documentaries or something like that.
Now, should we just quickly? Should we kind of put some sort of thing in this? Because I feel like my clues sometimes are like they help me get it. So you generally give me 5. I've got to get half. Now, should we maybe like kind of do this like a Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, where I only get a certain amount of clues, like a lifeline or something? So maybe. Am I only allowed to use like clues 3 times or twice? Like, I mean, you can come up with the rules here, but I feel kind of there needs to be some rules behind this, Nick.
Well, I think our pass rate is 3, so you have to get at least 1 without help. I think so. You can get 2. You can get 2 clues, I think, and that's
2 clues. Okay, that's a good point. All right. So the new rule is I'm allowed 2 clues, and I guess I can just say, "Can I have a clue?" And we'll go from there. Okay, that's fair enough. All right, hit me with your first one, baby.
Okay, right. So let's try this one. So this one's tagline is a lively comedy about a guy who isn't.
Oh, that's one of these ones that I feel I know. A lively comedy about a guy who isn't. So I'm gonna guess that he's not alive. because of the lively comment. So a comedy about somebody who's dead. Is it a Drop Dead Fred?
Oh, you're so close.
Oh.
You're along the right lines.
So I'm guessing there's an invisible person or something. I'm going to go for a clue in this one. I feel I'm so close to this one.
Okay, so yes, think of a movie with a guy who's dead as the main character.
Beetlejuice.
No. He's. I can't say it without absolutely just giving it away. It's a late '80s movie. Definitely about a dead guy.
Weekend at Bernie's.
Yes.
Oh, all right. I also feel like we kind of need to implement that. Maybe I'm allowed to only have like 3 guesses because otherwise I could be here all day. So should we do the 3 guesses policy per one? And okay. So I've used 1 clue and I'm 1. All right, 1 out of 1. All right, good. All right, good clue.
Okay.
Good clue.
All right. Okay. This one should be quite easy, I think. A romantic comedy with zombies.
A romantic comedy with zombies. Oh, that's like one of those Shaun of the Dead ones, isn't it?
Yep, you got it.
Shaun of the Dead. Yep.
All right.
Cool.
Okay, number 3. The mission is a man.
The mission is a man. Wow. Could you be any more vague? I'm Chandler now, apparently. Yeah, I'm gonna need a clue on that one. I feel.
So Spielberg war movie.
Ah, Saving Private Ryan.
Yes.
Ah, all right. I've used my clues though. Okay, I'm out of clues.
Yeah. So you're now just up against yourself to try and. I
want to go perfect. I want 100% here.
The perfect score. Yeah. Okay. Earth. Take a good look. It could be your last.
Oh, that's Is that Mars Attacks?
No.
Okay. I know that. Independence Day? No, it's not Independence Day.
Yes, it is Independence Day.
It is. Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, phew. Yeah. All right. Okay. Well, all right. 4 from 4. This is going well.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Last one. Okay. Here They Grow Again.
Oh, Here They Grow Again. I'm guessing it's a sequel. Perhaps. Something about growth. Wow, you're really smart, Ben. I'm gonna have to just go to town on this one, and I'm probably going to be the most obscure ones in terms of I've got 3 guesses at this. Here They Grow Again. I don't even know where to begin. Fuck it, I don't know. This is terrible. Look, I'm just going to pass. I can't even think of a guess off that. Yeah.
I think you've still got a clue. You still have a clue if you want to take the clue.
I thought I used both. Oh, look, I'll take one. Why not? You're offering me one.
So it is I was going to say it's an 80s horror movie, but it's actually a 1990 horror movie. So I've narrowed it down there for you.
Probably my least knowledgeable genre. Night of the Living Dead. Freddy vs. Jack. Look, yeah, I'm really gonna. I don't know a lot on the horror genre, so yeah.
Okay, so I think you're 4 for 5. So it was Gremlins 2.
Ah, okay. Well, there you go. So look, I'm gonna sadly say I've never seen the Gremlins movies. So yeah,
there you go. Caught you out.
Yep.
But exactly. That's not bad.
I'll take it. 4 and 5. Yeah. I'll thank you. This is fun. I like it. We'll do it next week again, and obviously, unless there's major New Zealand breaking news in terms of Eminem's invaded New Zealand. Let's be honest, I'm sure he probably could. Again, why would he want to? But anyway, we will have you back on again.
If he brought the D12 with him, he could probably take over the whole country, couldn't he?
I reckon. It's not that hard. I mean, he'd have guns, surely. I think kind of guns are like snakes in New Zealand. They don't exist, right?
Yeah.
We'll have you on again next week, Nick. Thank you for your time here in the Brink.
All right. Glad to be here.
Time to dig into that vault once again for another classic performance. We're going back to the 2011 local act called the Blue Mosquitoes, who performed a couple of songs, talked about their albums and music and everything else in between in the studio. And they performed one of their songs called Ballad for a Homeless Man. This is back from 2011, the Blue Mosquitoes performing live on the Brink.
Would you mind if I sat my old bones down next to you? I'm kinda tired, just walked from the other side of town. I just need a minute or two. You know you look just like my wife. We sure had the perfect life. It's a funny thing, this life. When I was young, I played squeeze box in a band with mates of mine, but now that's done, I don't get on with these hands. These fingers feel the grip of time, but I still hold it in my mind. And these streets I walk in time to the song I feel inside. Single sunset in more than 40 years. I'm kinda tired of touching for that hurt you. I know you've seen a few, I can see it in your eyes, I see it in your eyes. I know I'll get there someday.
Dakoda Leary!
Hey,
What's up?
that shocked me.
I told you last week that's what I'd be doing. I told you I'd get to the point where I just say your name and here you are.
Yeah, but I forgot about that. It was like, whoa, okay.
But
cool.
you were more reactive this week than last week when I kind of just said, I'm not going to say anything except Dakoda Leary. You kind of were shocked. This week you actually went, hey!
Yeah, because, well, I was more prepared than I was last week.
Yeah, you're still at the door. You're still at the fucking door. Like, what is going on? Come on, come through the door, Dakoda.
No, I don't want to. Smells in there.
Yeah, because of hummus. Is that his smell?
Yeah.
How is hummus?
I think he's alright. Haven't seen him in a while.
Oh, you don't like text?
Although he might be dead, I don't know.
Oh,
Who knows?
I don't think he is. I think I saw him post something on Facebook the other day, so...
Oh, yeah, cool.
Glad I noticed that, and I've only met
Good
the
to
guy
know.
once, whereas you're like his, boyfriend or something, so, cool. Just, we randomly talk about shit. That's what we do. It's the Ben and Dakoda random shit talk break. I just want to I really want to actually go out on a limb here and commend you, Mr. Leary, for a job well done during Forget the Lyrics the other week on High Noon. I guess at the time of recording this, it was last week, but at the time this episode's released, it would have been a week and a half ago. But you did well. You did very well on that episode. So I just wanted to just give you a little clap because I'm impressed with your growth, you 15-year-old, soon-to-be 18-year-old.
Stuff it, because I'll get like hot-headed and then I'll just like...
Because that works for you to do better Forget the Lyrics? Is that what you're implying, or...?
No, I'll just like, I don't know, I'll probably try and take over your show or something.
Well, you've been saying that since you first popped out of the ground and sat in the
Since I was
studio.
15.
Well, you're still 15, so...
I've always been 15.
We established this on air the other day on High Noon, the fact that when dim sims are brought into the studio, you officially become 18. So...
Yeah, I've got like a weird defect where I was born 15 and I'll only ever be 15.
No, you were born as a baby. You got to 15, but then you just stopped. You just kind of stopped your growth at 15.
Sorry, I forgot you knew more about my biology than I did.
Well, I'm a very intelligent man. What can I say? You've got to be in this profession, apparently.
Right. Yeah, okay.
Know everything. You and I are Formula One fans. We're awesome. Formula One is a sport. Do you still talk to that friend? Remember that time your friend said that Formula One wasn't a sport?
Nah, she told me that it wasn't sport, and I unfriended her on Facebook.
I can imagine why. Let's be honest, she was a bitch. Ditch her. Clearly you did. Good job.
I did, yeah.
But I just wanted to mention, a bit over a week ago, Valtteri Bottas. He won his first ever Grand Prix, Dakoda, and you seem quite happy about this. I noticed you were sharing it all on social media. You're a bit of a Valtteri fan, are you?
So happy. I love Valtteri. He's great.
Yeah? Mr. Happy?
I was hell happy when he moved to Mercedes. It's great.
What is it about the boat that you like?
I don't know. He's like Kimi Räikkönen, but with a bit more personality.
Oh, come on. That's a statement.
Yes. No, he is. He's very cool.
I think of Valtteri Bottas, and I'd never think of the word personality.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Right, okay.
Look, I can see what you're trying to say, but I think kind of Kimi Räikkönen has this hidden personality that I think he just lives up to this reputation that he's got, and that makes him have this weird personality, whereas Valtteri Bottas is kind of like the Nico Rosberg to Lewis Hamilton in the fact that he tries to be cooler than he is. The difference between Nico Rosberg and Valtteri Bottas is that Nico Rosberg has a personality, and Valtteri Bottas really doesn't.
Nah, Nick, it's exactly the opposite.
Really? Really, Dakoda?
Nico Rosberg's just an idiot. Like,
I thought you liked Nico.
I do, but he's just an idiot. Like,
I like him, but he's an idiot.
He's like that guy who that school who always just kind of
tries a bit hard.
Is there being him and oh, look at me, I'm like that guy, and everyone's like, who the fuck's that guy?
So when it comes to school with the brand new iPad, it's like, everyone look at my iPad, and no one gives a flying shit. Whereas if Lewis Hamilton came with the iPad, everyone's like, oh dude, you're the coolest in school. Whereas Nico Rosberg's just there.
That's what it is. And then Valtteri is just like the guy in the background who's just like
with the iPad, but he doesn't need to show it off to people. He's just like, yeah, I've got an iPad. Who cares?
Yeah, and then people go, oh, you've got an iPad, and he goes, yeah, I do have an iPad.
And that's about it. My favourite bit of the whole sort of... I mean, look, I'm joking. I like Valtteri Bottas. I don't dislike the guy. I'm glad he won his first Grand Prix. But I loved the cool-down room afterwards, and you got the commentators that are all like, oh, yes, and let's now cross to the cool-down room to hear all the drivers talk. And you got sort of Sebastian Vettel there, and it's just dead silence, because, Kimi Räikkönen's not going to say anything. Bottas is sort of there. He's just got a bit of a smile on his face. And Sebastian's like, so... this was your first one? Like, it's just a real, like, awkward conversation when it's like, it's not like you don't like each other, but you've all got those people where it's kind of like, you like them, you know them, but you just can't have a conversation by yourselves. Like, if you're in a group of friends, sure, you can talk to them, but if it's just you and them, it's a bit awkward.
Yeah, but I don't think, like, it's two Finnish people. I don't think
Sebastian's not Finnish, he's
they're
German.
particularly... I mean, Valtteri Bottas is Finnish.
Yes, but I'm talking about
Kimi
Vettel. I'm talking about
is
Vettel and
Finnish.
Bottas's conversation. Kimmy's in the chair.
Oh, you're just talking about that?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, but, like, what was Bottas going to say? It's just kind of...
Did you notice?
He's just the same as...
I like the fact that he kind of repeated his same thing 3 times. We hear him on the radio saying, like, oh, it took me over 80 times, took me a bit. Then he says to Sebastian Vettel, oh, it took me over 80 times, took me a bit. Then on the podium, oh, it took me over 80 times, it took me a bit. It's like, yes, we heard the joke the first time, Valtteri. Haha, move on.
No, it took him over 80 times. It took him a bit.
Did it? Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was a good win, yeah. Yeah. Didn't think so, yeah.
To me, Valtteri Bottas is kind of like the awkward kid who, like, nobody pays attention to. And then when he gets a bit of attention, you can kind of see why he's awkward, because it's a lack of... And look, it sounds mean by saying lack of personality. That's not always a bad thing. Like, I love Finnish people, you know. I'm good friends with Mika Polari, president or former president of Ice Hockey Tasmania. You know him too. Like, obviously, you know Mika, and he's, you know, Finnish. And the Finns have their own unique, dry sense of speaking to you that is just also really funny, the way Finnish people are. And I love the Finns, and it's kind of interesting.
I don't think he has a lack of personality. I don't think he just don't think he likes really talking.
It's kind of like if you compare a Finnish person to an American person, it's the complete opposite ends of the spectrum. Like, an American could walk in the room and, you know, just be, I don't even know how to, you know what everyone knows what I'm talking about with an American. They're exuberant people. They're very energetic. Whereas, like, the Finns, like, you know, a Finnish person could walk in the room and just be like, I just won Tatlotto. This is the happiest I have ever been in my entire life. And that is, like, literally them being happy. Whereas an American, like, you know, they pull out the fireworks and like, oh, say, can you see I won Tatlotto?
I think Bottas actually showed some teeth during...
A little bit. A very, very little bit. It's like, it's interesting seeing his celebrations when he's like... It's like, wow, that is a happy Finn.
I love the champagne spraying, though. Like, literally, I'm pretty sure he drank the whole bottle.
He's finished. That's just water to
in that one go. Like... And then, like, I'm pretty sure Sebastian gave him half his bottle, like...
And he wasn't even drunk. He wasn't even tipsy, you know.
No, wasn't even drunk.
The best bit too, we can't ignore Putin. You know, it's always fun when Vladimir Putin rocks up.
God.
Here he comes. Hello, Vlad. And I loved. Was it Bottas who actually was quite funny when I think through the translator or something like that. You know, he says like, "Oh, all the hotels were booked out in Sochi this weekend," and then I think it was Bottas who's like, "Looks like you need to build more hotels in Sochi then." You know, quick little one-liner quip to the president of Russia. So it's got like, why not?
That's great. No, they don't care who he is. Like,
yeah, they're going to invade Finland next week. It's like, you do not insult president. We invade your country.
No, it's good that he actually goes to the race. Like,
I agree.
I don't think any other world leader does that.
Oh, I'm sure the president of Azerbaijan is there. We just don't know who he is. But yeah, I mean, I was thinking about that actually, because like, let's compare that to Austin, America. Like, did Obama ever present the trophy? No. Is Trump gonna? No. So
yeah, but at the same time, they wouldn't really want to go to Texas.
True. That's a good call. If Bush was still president, you know, he would be there. But it's
yeah.
I mean, wouldn't you love to see that come Austin? He's Donald Trump strolling up and...
Oh, dear. Imagine the reaction he'd get from the drivers. He'd be like, oh.
This trophy, this is like the greatest trophy ever. I have never seen a trophy greater than this. I made this trophy. This is the best. This is the greatest of all. Nobody makes trophies better than I do. This is the greatest. Oh, I really want to see that. And like, again, even on our own side of things, where's Malcolm Turnbull presenting Sebastian Vettel the trophy in Melbourne the other week? Where are you, Malcolm? Like, you're not there.
And like,
Russia's like the biggest country one of the biggest countries in
It
the
is
world.
the
and he
biggest
still
country in the
can't.
world.
And it's the biggest country in the world. He can still get to the race. Like,
I mean, having said that, about 80% of Russia is snow, but it's still the biggest country in the world, so...
yeah, we still have to travel the furthest. So.
True, very true. So, look, it's a weird thing that you can sort of say... And the thing is, too, Dakoda, he hasn't missed a single one. He's been there for every one of these. Every year, the Russian Grand Prix, this is the 4th year they've had it. He has been there, so, weird moment where we've got to say, props to you, Vladimir Putin.
I guess it's either he likes doing stuff for his country or... just nothing ever happens.
Or he's
in
maybe
Russia.
he's a Formula One fan.
Yeah.
So
maybe.
I love kind of when you see just the way. I don't think it's noticeable now, but I remember the first year when he sort of walked in the room, how it just got all really like, oh shit got real. Here's Putin.
Yeah.
It's kind of like fuck. Behave yourselves, people. But his translator seemed way too happy. Like no one's that happy working for Vladimir Putin. Come on.
No, they love him in Russia.
Well, they do. The cheer he got on
think
the...
he's a
He got a
god.
bigger cheer than
Yeah.
Bottas did. Like, if you
Yeah,
go back
he
and watch
always
the
does,
footage,
yeah.
when you hear, like, them obviously introducing the dignitaries onto the podium, when they introduce Putin, that crowd goes off. Usually, if that was in Australia, everyone would be booing the shit out of Turnbull.
Wouldn't they?
Because they generally have the Victorian Premier, I think, does at least present the trophy.
Yeah, I think
But,
so.
and generally you always hear the boos. But, yeah, it's kind of... Yeah, they love him. I mean, I guess it's kind of...
Yeah.
We should really take note that they kind of have to love him. If there was one boo, that person would go missing quite quickly and you would never see them again, so...
I suppose, yeah. That's a thing.
You do not boo the president!
Oh, no.
I don't know what else. I was going to get angry, but I'm not really going to get angry. I think this is...
You were?
Yeah,
Oh, that sucks.
Let's have a week off from being
I was
angry.
looking
There's too
forward
much
to that.
anger in the world, Dakoda. Like,
Yeah, right. Okay.
I think it's time to take a step back from the anger. Like, just take a breather, people, all right? Just calm down with your anger, all right? Just love each other. Everybody love each other.
We're calm. I think we're calm.
Yeah, we're good? We're calm? Awesome, sweet.
Yeah, we're calm.
Anything else you want
We're
to
calm.
talk about, or are we done?
Don't have anything to talk about, I guess.
Cool. You just want to go through the door and go to bed, it seems like.
Yeah, I just want to go to bed.
I'm gonna
I
bed.
took a sleeping pill, and I was going to warn you that like at some point during the episode I may fall asleep.
Halfway through. You know what makes me...
Yeah, yeah.
We should have really gotten angry this week. All right, well, I'll let your drugs kick in, and I'm sure we'll speak to you next week.
Cool. See ya.
It's time for...
This is like a flashback. This is like a dream.
Flashback. Yeah, I got a bit excited then didn't just sort of do what I did with Dakoda and just really get straight into it. We're going back to the year 2008, a year that we haven't really revisited too much here on the Brink podcast, and this is one that I'm very surprised we've never brought to you so far across our 24 episodes of the reboot. This is one of my favourite segments of all time. Back in 2008, Pope Benedict was still a thing, and he returned to Australia. Well, came to Australia, I shouldn't say returned, came to Australia for the very first time, and we somehow got an exclusive interview with the guy, of sorts. And I guess this is how it went. I don't really need to say much because you'll make your mind up in terms of just how this did go right now by listening to it.
Kick it from me one time.
Your Holiness, Pope Benedict XVI, welcome to the Brink.
Hello, my son. How are you?
Oh, look, I'm blessed to have your company here in the studio today. It's such an honour and a privilege for you to take some time out of your busy schedule.
It is an honor for me, Pope Benedict the 16th. I'm sorry. The jet lag is just... It's very bad.
That's okay, Your Holiness. Now, first of all, this is your first visit to Australia, I believe. What are your impressions of our country?
I love the country. It's so beautiful. The kangaroos, the koalas, the John Howards. It's very beautiful.
The John Howards, sir.
I've seen 4 of them so far.
Four of them? 4 John Howards?
I could have been the same person walking around the same lake.
Really? Well, he used to be quite a, guest on the show. He used to be here every week.
He's a good man. He's a good man. He needs to come to church more, but he's a good man.
What about Kevin Rudd, our Prime Minister?
He's a lovely man. Good tea.
Good tea. He mentioned that you like you liked the tea that he presented as well as the biscuits.
Billy House was very good tea.
Very good. That's fantastic to know.
Very good tea. Yes.
Now, obviously, you're very busy here in Australia at the moment. World Youth Week, everything along those lines. Have you had a chance to check out the sights of our great country?
I went to Luna Park. It was a great place.
Did you go on the rides?
I went on a roller coaster.
And what was that like?
Don't wear a hat on a roller coaster.
Oh, so you wore your big pontiff hat on there.
Don't wear the hat.
Got taken off?
I got the 5-year-old in somewhere in Wollongong has the hat now.
Oh, that's not very good at all.
His mother won't give me the hat.
Oh, that's no good. You should call him up.
I would, but they don't understand German.
Oh, okay, fair enough. Is that when you get angry, you can only speak German?
I'm the Pope. I don't get angry.
Oh, of course you don't. So what happens when you get, I don't know, your football team loses or you lose money on a bet?
I'm the Pope.
I realise that, sir, Your Holiness.
I am the Pope.
Okay, then. Do you want to say that again?
I am the Pope.
Okay, then. One question I have. Your Pope-mobile is a very nice-looking automobile. What are you doing to curb greenhouse gas emissions with your Pope-mobile? Is it environmentally friendly?
It is a hydrogen hybrid car. It's a good... I believe that we should take care of the world that God has gave us, and it's a pretty earth. I love it. It's my top one.
I heard a rumour that it is the petrol that is actually run on is the faith of your believers. Is that true?
That is correct.
And how does that work?
When people emit faith, they emit hydrogen.
So when they lose faith, that you kind of pull up to a standstill?
No. When they lose faith, they emit methane, and that helps.
Oh, okay. It just pollutes the earth at the same time.
Exactly.
Now, big mess on Sunday, World Youth Day, huge. 500,000 people expected at Randwick Racecourse. Millions of people watching around the world. Do you get nervous?
I'm the Pope.
Yeah, I get that, sir, Your Holiness, but surely you get nervous. You get little butterflies in the stomach.
I'm the Pope.
So you just sort of, I don't know, just tap yourself on the nose and be like, don't be nervous?
I'm the Pope.
Okay, then. Final question for you, Your Holiness. Will you be back to Australia, and do you give your blessing for the Hobart 2020 Olympic bid?
I give my blessing for the 2020 Olympic bid, and I also say I'll be back to Australia in the 2020 to compete in the pole vault.
In the pole vault. So you actually be competing in the Olympics?
I will compete in the Olympics because I'm the Pope.
And you'll represent Vatican City?
Yes.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much for your time here on the show, Your Holiness.
Thank you, Ben.
It has been an honour.
I am the Pope.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Well, as he leaves the studio, I think he he's signalling to me for a bit more of the music. Gonna have a bit of a wrap up there, I think. And
I am the Pope.
he likes to...
Goodbye, Ben. Goodbye.
See you, Your Excellency.
I am the Pope.
Okay, then. We know.
You're gonna have that stuck in your head for the rest of the day, just going around going, I'm the Pope, I'm the Pope. Yeah, it's been nearly 10 years for me, and I've still got that stuck in my head. So good luck for the rest of the day. It's time to welcome back everybody's former co-host in Mr. Joshua Shoebridge, the man from Marimbula. Josh, welcome back to the Brink.
Thank you, good sir. How are we today?
Oh, look, decent. Just plugging along. How about yourself? How is the Bega capital of Bega?
Vegemite, that's what it is. It's freaking cold, mate. That's what it is. It's freaking cold.
Wow.
We've had to have a fire on in the house in the last 4 nights.
Right. What is the temperature there right now? Actually, I'm going to Google it. It's apparently 6 degrees. I've just done it right now. 6 degrees, Josh. That's a decent temperature.
Yeah, it is. It like a decent temperature for if you want to have small nut. That's what it is.
Well, it's 7 right now in Hobart, so we're on a very similar temperature page. But it's kind of interesting. I don't know how it's been up there, but it's
freaking cold when up here is colder than Hobart.
By 1 degree. I mean, it's the tiniest amount, but it's I guess it's kind of that point. I don't know how the weather's been up there, but it's sort of, typical Hobart weather. We have like these cold days. I enjoy the cold weather, and then kind of all of a sudden, I'll look at the weather forecast. The next Monday's probably going to be like 27 degrees. Like it's still in that weird little period here in May now, where it's like make up your mind weather. Like, what are you doing this week?
Yeah, I know, but so in all fairness, Hobart has the notorious. It's notorious for having 6 seasons in one day.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can go out in the morning wearing 4.5 layers of clothing an inch thick, and by the time you've made it from your front door down to the letterbox, and you'd be in shorts and thongs.
Yes.
It's ridiculous. Up here, where it's closer to the equator by at least 3,000 kilometres, and I'm pulling these numbers out of my ass.
Yeah, right. Well, probably a couple of hundred kilometres, not necessarily 1,000, but sure, keep going.
Yeah, and what I'm saying is we should have some normality in our seasons. We don't get any of that at the moment. I don't know what the hell's going on. It's like El Nino or what. It's his fault. That's what it is.
Yeah, we'll blame that. It's apparently, actually, Josh, I've just literally Googled this here. 1,322.6 kilometres. That's how far it is between you and I right now.
Yeah.
You were close. I mean, you were a third of the way there, sort of. So...
Almost half, mate. Almost half.
I mean, 3,000, I think I might have been up near, I don't know, Brisbane perhaps, or, maybe a bit further down Coffs Harbour or something along those lines. But, I'd probably say Brisbane, I'd say.
But who wants to go to Brisbane? What's that?
People who like cane toads. I don't know. I don't mind Brisbane. I don't mind the place. I mean, I'm not a New South Welshman, so I have nothing really against Queensland. I probably couldn't live there because it's too hot. But look, if I had the opportunity to live there for a nice job, I'd say yes. So sure.
See, I don't know. I've not been there, so I can't comment.
You've never been to Queensland?
No.
Now, is that just a lifestyle choice, or is that just hasn't happened yet?
Yeah, I'm not gay, so that's why.
Really?
That's what they call it, Queensland, isn't it? Land of the Queens.
You said it, not me. Sure.
Well, you know what? You know why they call their beer 4X?
That's because they can't spell.
Because they can't. That's exactly right.
Yeah, come on. That's an old one.
Yeah, but it's a true. The truth never gets old, Ben. Remember that.
That is true. I mean, I guess the truth that used to be the world is flat. That kind of got a bit old, but.
Oh, do you know what I think's so funny? There's this guy on, like you see him on Facebook. He's like this ranger with long hair. I think he's got like ultra spiritual or something. I think that's what he's, and he takes the piss out of all these sorts of things. Like one of the videos is he's sitting there and he's going, this is how to be a meat eater, and it's essentially him being a meat eater behaving like a vegan. Like it's like he's sitting across the table from this girl eating a salad, and she goes, "You're eating my food's food. I'm not hungry anymore." Do you know there's so much more protein in this meat than there is in that kale you're eating?
I think I need to look that up.
Oh, and I have actually totally forgotten why I brought him up.
Well, look, why not? As if we've ever had context to anything we've ever said on this show, Josh. I mean, come on now. You've been involved in this show for over a decade. You should know that.
I know, but you'd think we grow up a little bit.
Yeah, well, you would think, but it'll happen one day. I mean, you're a father. Come on, you can't talk. I mean, I'm still, 30, single, lonely, no kids that I know of. I mean, I've probably got more of an excuse than you do.
No. I get excited when I know that there's people from the 501st coming down here to Merimbula, because I know me and my son can go, all right, let's go get dressed up in Stormtrooper costumes too and go and hang out with them. So...
Well, I actually, on that note, Josh, just quickly as well, I should mention last week, happy Star Wars Day. May the 4th be with you. Happened during the week. So did you do much to celebrate on May the 4th?
Oh, no. Alex and I have a bit of a ritual. We watch some Clone Wars in the morning while we're getting ready, because Alex had to go to kindy because that was on Thursday, and so we'll have that go on. And then when I get home, because I'll finish work before everyone else, so I pick Alex and Gabriel from kindergarten and come back, and we'll chuck on either Empire or Jedi, and chill out. And
not Phantom Menace, not Attack of the Clones.
No, he's got to get substance. He might get Rogue One, but he got to get something with substance.
Come on, Josh. I mean, I've already made the joke to you. Sort of, you posted your update during the week about how you're proud of Alex saying his first Star Wars quote, and I was disappointed to learn it wasn't.
No. It wasn't his first. It wasn't his first.
Okay. He's what, 17th or something like that?
It wasn't his first. I'm correcting you. his millionth. But it was the fact that he was just sitting in the room with me. We were chilling out, getting ready for school, and he just starts going, like, he's just impressing me. Just proud dad, just going, yeah, that's my boy.
He doesn't. It's not impressive, Josh. Again, it's not impressive until he utters a line, I don't like sand. It's coarse, rough, irritating, and it gets everywhere.
You know, I'm going to train him to say that now.
Well, look, if they can train Hayden Christensen to say it, I'm sure you can train your son, so...
Okay, Hayden Christensen's not a bad actor.
I know. Come on, you know I'm just being mean. I like Hayden Christensen.
Do you know what's even funnier? Both of us enjoyed the prequels. We actually enjoyed them.
Yeah, and look, it's one of these go-to things. It's like New Zealand. Like, you make fun of New Zealand, and I guess kind of since being there, I sort of almost like the place now, but you still make fun of it.
Well, the only thing about New Zealand I don't think I could handle is if I ever hooked up with a New Zealand girl.
Yeah, I'm the same. Like, seriously, Natalie Portman could be New Zealander, and if she spoke, I'd be like, no, just keep your mouth shut. Just no.
No, they can speak. It's just like, they grow up, and they get old. Well, most of the time, married women get 10 times bigger than men.
I just thought, hang on a minute. I was just about to say, is this an unusual thing around the world, Josh? Only New Zealanders grow up and get old, but clearly I get your point.
No. Well, and it's not just New Zealand. You got Tonga, Samoa, the Cook Islands, all these things. Like, the only island that's safe, that you can date anyone from is Fiji, and that's because most of them are Indian and they can fix your computer.
Okay, you said that. I wasn't expecting that, but I was going to mention about the prequels. But I don't know if it's... wow. Yeah, look, I will say... look, I found... Since The Force Awakens came out, I grew such and more of an appreciation for the prequels. And I think kind of co-host of mine on the Oz Network, Colin, who's, you know, he's up there with you, huge Star Wars fan. He summed it up pretty well one time when we were talking about this, because he's also a defender of the prequels. And he says, if these movies, if this episode 1, 2, and 3 were brand new movies, if, you know, 4, 5, and 6 didn't exist, you didn't know anything about Star Wars until episodes 1, 2, and 3, like, you would look at these and think these are amazing. These are great movies. But it's just based on the fact that they exist in a world of 4, 5, and 6 and the entire Star Wars canon. And it's kind of... Look, I can see many faults with them. I'm not saying they're perfect movies, but it's kind of, it's interesting to think that I remember watching The Force Awakens and just thinking to myself, oh, we're going to get, like, you know, references to the Haas movies, you know, lots of references to 4, 5, and 6. There was just basically no references at all to the prequels. And I can see why they probably did that, because they really wanted to distance themselves from it. But at the same time, it's like, every generation has their Star Wars movies they grew up on. You know, our parents had 4, 5, and 6. Ours that we grew up on were the prequels. You know, your sons, it will be these new ones. So kind of you and I and Colin and all the people sort of our age, I feel we're connected to the prequels in that sense, because, you know, these were our childhood. These was our opportunity to experience the joy of Star Wars growing up like our parents did. So no matter what people say about them, we're always going to have that real emotional connection to episode 1, 2, and 3.
Well, that's exactly right. And my argument of this is, if you look at the evolution of 1, 2, and 3, they were made specifically for our generation. Like, if you look at episode 1, Jar Jar Binks was made for the kids. He wasn't made to please anyone except to get the kids in and entertain the kids in the movie theater for 2 hours. That's all he was. And you can look at it in episode 2. We've grown up. What do we want to see? We want to see the clones come in and kick the Xenos' backsides in Geonosis. That was what we want to see. That's why we saw less Jar Jar. We saw him a little bit at the start, saw him a little bit at the end. He had a bit of a role, but it wasn't important. And then when episode 3 came out, we were in year 11 when that came out.
Yep.
We were old. We wanted to see...
Year 12, actually, Josh. Year 12. Hang on, sorry. I was thinking about that. Yeah, year 12.
Yeah. And if you think about it, around that year, it was either the year after... Yeah, I reckon it was the year after, is when Dark Knight came out. The Batman movie with Heath Ledger in it, and then that was so good because it was so dark and gritty, and that was what we were wanting at that stage. So the movies were made specifically for the generation and the mentality of the people there, and that's what, if you look back again, go back further to the 4, 5, and 6, They were made the exact same way. If you look at all the movies that came out in 1977 and 1976, you had Logan's Run, you had The Towering Inferno. These are all depressing. They weren't good movies, and the studios weren't giving them that, giving the people that. They weren't giving those movies that had the really good things going for them. And then Star Wars comes out. It's this movie being made in London in 1976. It's getting made, and people are going to, like, there were people thinking that this is just going to be a made-for-TV movie. This is just for kids. And then it comes out as it is the first blockbuster movie. The reason why they call it a blockbuster movie is because the line to the cinema took over a block to get there, and that's where the word blockbuster comes from. And that's where Star Wars is the one that did it. Star Wars is the first one that did the credits at the end of the movies. Star Wars is the first that did having an orchestral score to over nearly 90% of the movie. There was hardly any points in that movie that didn't have any audio, any music on it. And look at the special effects, the scope of the models. They were all. It was all new. It was all groundbreaking, but it was what the public was after. Then you go again. The public grew up a little bit more. You got the darker Empire, where the bad guys win. Like that never happens. Bad guys never win, but they did in Empire. And then Return of the Jedi. And again, it twists a little bit. It's 1982. And then you have the cute and cuddly, because that's the kids are getting a bit older. They've had Empire, they've entertained the adults. The adults want to show their kids this. Then you've got the Ewoks, and all that. And again, and it's an interesting evolution of Star Wars. And at the moment, the fact that Disney and Lucasfilm are trying to get nostalgia back. So if you look at Force Awakens and Rogue One, it's all about nostalgia, and that get everyone from the prequels back into Star Wars. And there's so much more in it for kids, and it's very interesting. You actually look at the philosophy of how the stories are made and for which generation they're for, and I think it's really interesting.
It's a very good way of explaining it all. And I mean, I was excited, at least I think, in Rogue One that we got Mustafar with Darth Vader. So there was bit of prequelness in there. We obviously had General Organa in there as well. So I would. It's kind of interesting when people are sort of saying these things about how will we get a ghost Hayden Christensen, or will there be these appearances in the future ones? And I really hope there is. It's kind of a weird thing to kind of hope for when everybody else is like, no, fuck them, bring back this, that, and everything else. But I like the fact that we had.
Well, they've all but confirmed that they're going to do a standalone Obi-Wan movie using Ewan McGregor.
Well, they've been saying that for a long time, though, haven't they? Is it finally been confirmed? Or
it wasn't officially announced at Star Wars Celebration, which was 2 weeks ago, but it was. Ewan McGregor, his agent, had said something they won't announce another Star Wars movie until the next one's finished. So the official announcement for Obi-Wan with Ewan McGregor won't come out till after December. That's the official announcement by Lucasfilm. But when the fact that he's been walking around with an Obi-Wan haircut, the fact that he's doing all these things, it just points to it. And that's what happened with Rogue One. They had all these things pointing to Rogue One, and everyone's like, oh, we're going to get the standalone Star Wars movie. But they won't announce it until they're ready. And they're very... I've started to notice that Lucasfilm is a lot like Apple. They have a set day when they release a trailer. They have a set way of doing things, and you can bank on the days. Like Star Wars Celebration was last fortnight, and the panel for the new movie was on the Friday, and you can guarantee that panel you were going to see a trailer, and exactly that panel trailer dropped for the new.
Did you like it? Did you like the trailer?
I think there's so many little things in there. One of the things that I took from it, which I'm wanting to know more about, is that long shot that they've got of Rey practicing lightsaber moves while Luke's looking at her. If you look at the rock on the other side of her, there is this shape so similar to Yoda, just sitting there with his staff, just watching. So I'm interested to see if that is actually a thing, or is that just my mind playing tricks?
Maybe Luke's just created sort of like a Wilson volleyball out of, from Castaway. It's like he's lonely on that rock, so...
Yoda!
Yoda!
What are we going to do? Yoda!
I'm sorry, Yoda! I'm sorry!
And that's the thing, Star Wars is, with the expanded universe, legends, and all the canon stuff, there's just so much you can read into. There's so much you can just go, oh, they're going to do this and going to do that. And with the animated series they've got Clone Wars, which has been done and dusted for a number of years, Rebels, which is in their final season this year, and how they're linked, and how they're going to be doing another animated show. But the shows have got that same sort of, when they first start, they're very kiddie, but then Rebels is definitely have gone down the real dark sort of a thing, where in the last season, Obi-Wan, Darth Maul made a research. I don't know if you've ever watched any Clone Wars or Rebels or anything like that.
I've actually never watched any of the animated Star Wars stuff.
It's fantastic. You have to watch it. If you are a Star Wars fan, watch it, because you get a better appreciation for Anakin. You get a better appreciation for Obi-Wan. And things like, you see how Order 66 got put into the clone troopers. You see how all these things happen that made Episode 3, where Anakin's mindset was at, what he was thinking. How did Yoda end up speaking to Qui-Gon Jinn when he was a Force ghost? How did Anakin feel about being the chosen one? Because that was something that was totally skipped over. And in the character development of all that. And the other characters like General Grievous. Darth Maul, believe it or not, survived falling down that pit.
Being chopped in half.
And he comes back. Yeah, he comes back. And they actually explain how it happened.
Right.
And how it all turns, all goes out, which is so good. You find out how the clone troopers were trained. You see a group of clone troopers go from cadet all the way through to being what they call ARC troopers, which is like their special forces. And it's 6 seasons. It's fantastic. Got 6 seasons of the movie, and what they call the Lost Missions, which are essentially, it was the last part of season 6, where Yoda goes off and searches this weird spirit world to learn how to turn into a Force ghost when he dies, which I thought was really interesting.
Wow. Look, Josh, we can talk about this for about 13 years, I feel.
Yeah.
I mean, we came in here, we'll talk about this, we'll talk about that, but look, Star Wars always is a good topic. We should, never go on and say that we shouldn't talk about it, but we need to get you on, and we keep saying this, but we'll get you obviously involved in the Oz Network when it comes to Star Wars films, because I think you'll probably hunt me down and kill me if we don't do that, but I think we're a little bit away from...
I think I've proven myself on this.
Yes, exactly. It's been a long time since we've... I should say it's been a little bit away until we get to those ones. We've just started our Spider-Man ones, and allowing me a good outlet to rip shit into MJ as a useless bitch. So it's
mate, get me in on that too. I actually was speaking to someone about that just the other day, and oh my goodness, I cannot stand Andrew Garfield. Cannot stand him.
Well,
no, he's not Spider-Man.
Well, look, I'm definitely Team Tobey Maguire. I'm with you there. But we've only just done the first film. Download it soon via the Oz Network. But we're doing all 5 of them in the lead up to Spider-Man: Homecoming. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. But Josh, always a pleasure. We will have to get you on again sooner rather than later, and shoot the shit, and hopefully not offend anybody from Fiji anymore.
No, and namaste.
Another week of The Brink means another week of our next guest, former co-host of this show, Mr. Paul Luttrell. Paul, welcome back to the program.
Good to be here.
Now, it's a big week in Trumpland. We've had a bit going on. We talked a little bit about 100 days
last week. That officially came and went throughout the week. And we also had, for Australia, the very first face-to-face meeting between our Prime Minister this week, Malcolm Turnbull, and Donald Trump. And let's just say it was somewhat as awkward as it probably was always going to be.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It seemed that Trump had snubbed Turnbull at first, but it was just a bit of a delay. I guess they were celebrating their pass-through, their legislation getting passed through the lower house. But, yeah, I guess they met and, Trump with his Trumpisms.
It's I love the little awkward little pictures that are going around of both of them in a tuxedo and Trump just as always he generally does looks bored, and then Turnbull just he does look a little bit nervous, does Malcolm. I think we kind of talked about this a while ago about how nerve-wracking it must have been to kind of get on that phone, but for Malcolm it's kind of, he's obviously had to go over here. He's basically leaving when our budget's about to be announced, and some people weren't necessarily keen on that. But, of course, he's over there for, it was a good cause in regards to kind of being over there for the 75th anniversary of the Battle of the Coral Sea on the USS Intrepid. But clearly it obviously was always going to go a bit haywire, I think, in terms of something to do with Trump. And this time he was late, and the conversation somehow turned to golf, which, clearly Donald Trump is just wanting to play right now, as always.
Yeah. Well, he's friends with Greg Norman, so it's probably the only Australian that he knows or is aware of that exists. Of course he's got to drop that in there. But Turnbull, I can see why he'd be nervous, because Trump is very unpredictable and seems to take any, disagreement as a personal slight onto him rather than just, politics. He's an unpredictable president, that's for sure. So I can see. Yeah,
their exchange just was just hilarious, just in terms of the fact that, he mentions Greg Norman and he's kind of like, I love Australia. We have a great relationship. It's kind of like, well, really? Do we? And then it's like, they mentioned the phone call from the other month, and in typical Donald Trump fashion, what does he say? You guys exaggerated that call. That was an exaggeration. We had a great call. It was fake news.
Yeah. That's good. All in those little condensed dot points that he's just repeated and put into a sentence.
He speaks in tweets, let's be honest.
Yeah, he does, yeah.
Twitter has taken over him so much that whenever he actually speaks, he is speaking in like 130 characters or less.
Yeah.
I
don't think I've ever heard Donald Trump actually carry out a full sentence. It's always kind of just cut off dot points.
One interesting actually little pictogram I saw during the week from his 100 days in office is they compared Trump's first 100 days in office to Obama's, to Bush's, and to Clinton's, and the previous presidents, their visits to other countries in their first 100 days. And Obama, I think, had been to Canada, and I think he might have been somewhere else, and they'd all basically been to Canada and Mexico, and I think Bush or one of them had been to the Dominican Republic or some other country sort of nearby. But Trump hasn't even left the US in the first 100 days. Now, look, I don't know if is that a good thing because it's like he's focusing on domestic issues before traveling overseas, or is that a bad thing because he's really not going out of his way? I mean, how many world leaders have come to America in that amount of time? I'm sure that's probably a record.
Yeah, well, I guess it just shows that he's not willing to actually participate and he's kind of just, everyone can come to me. It's a very mob boss thing to do, I think, rather than actually showing a little bit of diplomacy and, extending the olive branch, I guess, it just seems like, he's not really trying to go out of his way to, maybe see things from other people's perspectives or whatever.
Now, within that first 100 days, he sort of spoke about it, and probably the quote of the week, he turned around and said that it's not as easy as he thought it would be, or it's harder than he thought it would be. Blind Freddie and his dog probably could have analysed that one, Mr. Trump. I mean, that was kind of just a bit of a weird thing for him to say, surely.
Yeah, definitely. He thinks being the most powerful person on the planet, basically, was going to be easier than being a reality TV show game, a host of a reality TV show. Yeah, I don't see that. There's a reason why presidents age ridiculous amounts while they're in office.
Yes.
It's a hard job. It's a very hard gig. There's a lot of stress and pressure. And yeah, I think you could have just seen. Basically, voters should have thought about this. Donald Trump is not up to handling that.
And people, you got to keep remembering that this guy's what? Is he turned 70 this year, or is he already 70? Like he's not young. I'll just be blunt. He's not young. So I mean, it's really a case of if he's, look, lo and behold, and heaven forbid if he's in there for 8 years. I mean, the guy's going to nearly be 80 by the time he leaves the White House. So, I mean, how old was Reagan? He was around a similar age, wasn't he? But
yeah, Reagan was pretty old and had some kind of health issues and stuff like that. But Trump, yeah, he's 70. I think he might be turning 71 this year.
Wow.
But yeah, he hasn't lived the healthiest lifestyle either. So
I will give it to him. He doesn't look that old. I mean, that's one positive. I mean, you might disagree with that. I don't think he looks that old, but
well, I think the suit covers up a fair bit, and he has a lot of orange on his face. So that probably helps. He's also got that ridiculous kind of wiggy thing on top of his head. It's kind of the Beatles effect. It was almost like you put people in suits and with a kind of matching costume, and people don't really see the in-between kind of stuff. It's this uniform, and so it doesn't make you. It seems like you don't age as much.
Maybe we all need to do that then. Perhaps that's.
Whereas if you put Donald Trump in a cardigan with a blanket over his knees, I'm sure he would look every bit of 80.
Some butterscotch lollies, you know. Bing Crosby going on in the background, sure. You mentioned before about the fact it was delayed because of this legislation passing. Now, this was to do with their healthcare bill that they've been trying to get through, and it's passed the first stage at least. It's still got to go to the Senate, I believe. But, I mean, this going through, this is pretty much sayonara Obamacare.
Yeah, it does look like it's on its way, which is a real shame because it's a terrible piece of legislation. It's covering 20 million less people, and yeah, people with pre-existing conditions basically can be refused, all-out refused, coverage, and on the whole, they will, if not refused, they will be charged a lot more anyway than everyone else, which is, it seems a little bit unfair to me.
I don't understand when they come up with something like that, and you know these things get ripped to pieces in the media because you know obviously the experts are gonna really go over it with a fine-tooth comb and find all the issues with it, and clearly, as you were saying, it seems to be affecting more people than it's helping. I mean, at what point are they sitting in this room going, "This is great, this is fantastic, this is better than Obamacare"? I mean, it's clearly been a talking point. It seems rushed and all this sort of stuff that's been mentioned, but what is wrong with these people if they think this is a good idea? I mean, is there more to it than perhaps we're seeing, and maybe there are some good things about this that no one's talking about?
Well, I think the Republican Party is pretty divided. You've got like the Tea Party Republicans who basically just want to completely strip healthcare. They don't want people to have health coverage. They want people to be able to pay for it themselves. So there's that. Then there's the moderate Republicans who do want people to have health coverage, but maybe not have to pay as much for it or in taxes and whatever. So there's this kind of, compromise that they're having to make within there. But then there's also like identity politics that they have to play. They don't want to seem as, like bleeding heart liberals or whatever, but they're trying to have their cake and eat it too, I guess. And it's just turned out to be neither here nor there.
It's crazy.
The piece of legislation.
It is really crazy to kind of think about. I'm just looking at this picture of Donald Trump and Malcolm Turnbull sort of like awkwardly staring at the camera, and Trump with his general resting bitch face of boredom. And Trump's kind of in the background. He looks like a mixture between, like, that awkward smile you're trying to do when you don't want to do something, between nervous, between just like, I don't even know what to think of it. I mean, it's kind of, I'm sure, these world leaders, they go around, they meet other world leaders, and they've probably got in their office in their retirement, a photo with them. I'm sure, like, Kevin Rudd's going to have a picture with him and Obama and all this sort of stuff in the future in his little den, when he's retired. But I don't know if this is going to be in Malcolm Turnbull's office when he eventually retires.
Oh, probably not. But it's strange because of just the media that Donald Trump kind of creates, he's essentially become the most famous person on earth.
Mhm.
And it creates like a weird dynamic between the two leaders, where you've got this person who is definitely like the alpha in the situation because he's just way more newsworthy. So yeah, it would be a kind of daunting and intimidating experience, I guess, for Malcolm Turnbull.
And even kind of from a businessman's perspective, because, I mean, you know, Malcolm Turnbull isn't exactly a slouch when it comes to that. He's quite a wealthy man, of course. And, you know, it's almost like Trump can also hold the, like, it's just almost comparisons so much between just the countries and everything. Because, you know what, Trump's worth billions, Turnbull's only worth millions. You can almost imagine, like, I'm worth more than you, my money is so much better, you know, exaggeration, you don't have that much money, fake money.
Yeah, and that don't underestimate how much that is actually a part of Donald Trump's psyche. I reckon he would actually weigh people up based on how much money they've made or whatever. I can see that.
And it's just an interesting thing because, I mean, for Australia, it's a big deal to have kind of, you know, this guy who's worth hundreds of millions of dollars as a prime minister. You know, it's always an issue here, but it's kind of, you know, Trump would just look down on that and go, oh, hundreds of millions of dollars, I'm worth billions.
Yeah, it's kind of it's something that people criticize Malcolm Turnbull for, but in the US, it's like the complete opposite. It's like if you're rich, you're, you know, the most virtuous person on earth. It's kind of, they kind of worship capitalism, whereas here it's more, yeah, you're rich. Should you really be leading the country? Don't you have some kind of bias towards business?
Yeah. It's
none of that in the US.
It's interesting. I long for the day to see if Trump ever comes to Australia and how that will be. I mean, he's been here before in terms of not when he was a president, but it's like even just him leaving the country and going to another one. I mean, I can imagine the protests and the reactions from the countries that he goes to. I mean, I think the UK is the first one he's meant to be going. He's due there soon, I believe, because they were signing some petition to have him not show up. But I can imagine that first overseas visit, no matter where it will be, is going to be quite controversial.
Yeah, I can see that happening. I think that they're going to have a pretty large security detail with him as well, which they do with every president. But Trump's a pretty controversial figure.
Well,
but it'll be very interesting. I can see him going to Britain first.
Yeah. I think he's probably thinking the nicest. I mean, I don't think he'll go to Mexico anytime soon. So maybe ever. We'll see how that plays out. Always fun, Paul. Thank you. We will talk to you again next week.
Yeah, it's been good.
Another part of the show that I absolutely love.
That time of the week to play everybody's favorite game show. It's Forget the Lyrics here on the Brink on Edge Radio. Over to the studio.
Oh, the lyrics of forgetfulness. Now, once again, we seem to be going the Josh and myself vibe back to the year 2012. Bit of a shorter one for you today, but still a memorable one. This was Josh and I singing a duet to the classic Queen song, Another One Bites the Dust. Let's see how that went. Banana split on the panda. Eatin'. Went to the costume shop, looked at all the choices. Saw a panda suit over there. I thought it would go with my voices. I said, hey, are you ready for me? Are you ready to dress up as a panda? Let's rock up down to supermarket and buy myself a banana. Hey, yeah, eating a banana split. I said, yes, now. Put it on some bread. I like it with bread. Dressed as a panda. Hey, gonna put chocolate on it. Another one eats the banana split. Josh.
Here's ice cream and some chocolate. Get some nuts on it too. Getting some chocolate spread is cool if you like caramel. Get some strawberry if you don't like them. Maybe some nuts as well. Get a spoon, maybe puff a spoon. Eat it all. Yeah. Bow, bow, bow. Banana split in a panda suit. Bow, bow, bow. Banana split in a panda suit. Banana split in a panda suit. Eating a banana split. Eating a banana split. Do it. Bow, bow, bow.
you're going to get that stuck in your head again. Lots of things getting stuck on your head today, and you can blame Josh because he seems to be the one behind it all. Another week to get our taste of Canadian goodness with the only goodness that comes from Canada. It is Colin Hilding. Welcome back, Colin.
We're here to talk about hockey for the 4th or 5th week in a row, and I'm the only good thing to come out of Canada.
Well, I just wanted to make people get excited because, you know, hockey comes from Canada. It's good. We'll talk about Tim Hortons in a second too, which is, I mean, just as soon as I hear those two words together, I swear I get an erection. So it's... Most
people's reaction to Canada as far as erections go hockey, Tim Hortons, Colin Hilding. So that's appropriate.
I was about to say the third one there, but I didn't know how that, you know, our level of friendship went with that, so I didn't want to turn completely inappropriate. We'll go with hockey first. Why the fuck not? Now, at the time of recording this, I was so excited 2 days ago for the greatest comeback of all comebacks that Anaheim came back from 3-0 down with like 3 minutes to go to beat Edmonton in double overtime to make it 3-2, going to Game 6, looking like that they could go forward and not have to go to Game 7 and choke like they always do, but then they got spanked by Edmonton 7-1, so... What the hell just happened, Colin? I don't know if you saw any of the game. I know you're going for Edmonton, but...
Yeah, well, with the other game last night... I was watching that, and it starts late, and you know I unfortunately have to wake up at like 5:30 in the morning most of the time. So it's pretty rare if I can stay up late enough for a lot of these West Coast games. And with I think that was on a Friday night, so I'm like, okay, I don't really have to wake up early tomorrow. I think I'm okay. And it got to be like 11:30, and it was the end of the second period. I'm watching it in bed, and Edmonton is up 3-0, and I'm like, it's safe. I'll go to bed. It'll be fine. And I wake up in the morning to see the score 4-3 in double overtime. I'm like, what did I miss in that third period? And I thought it was over at that point. I'm like, you know, they obviously fell apart in this game. There's no chance. And I was ready to watch this game. I recorded it at home, but I was out of the house, and I thought, you know, maybe I'll just turn on the game for a few minutes here and just see how it's going. And I checked the score before I decided to log in to watch the game, and I saw 7-1, and I'm like, well, I don't think this one's worth watching either. But the entire way home, I'm thinking to myself, I know if anybody's going to blow it, it's going to be Edmonton, because the last time a third period hit them, it didn't go so well.
Well, I was at the football, because we had an AFL game in Hobart on the weekend, and I was sort of, you know, monitoring the scores, and I'm seeing the 3-0, and I think I looked at my phone, there was 5 minutes to go in the third period, they're still 3-0 down, and I'm just like, oh, fuck, you know, getting all depressed and all this sort of stuff. Then, I thought, like, oh, I may as well just check it, you know, and it was literally, I think, then about 30 seconds of the game to go, I've seen 3-2, you know, and I'm like, holy shit! So, like, I've, like, opened up, not cared about my data, I'm streaming this sitting in a grandstand in an AFL game to watch the final 30 seconds, see them score. I'm going off in the crowd. Everyone's looking at me going, Ben, the ball's in the middle of the field. Why are you cheering? And then this morning on the...
You're the idiot that doesn't understand the rules.
Yeah, I don't understand
like,
AFL.
Yeah!
What's going on? But then this morning, sort of the opposite, because like the game's kind of, I guess, started early-ish morning for me here in Australia, and of course I'm checking the Raptors as well, thinking, oh, will the Raptors get swept today? Side note, they did. And then I sort of looked at the Ducks score. I'm like, okay, I'll get up and watch the rest of this game. And I think at that point they were like 6-1 down. I'm like, okay, we won't be watching the rest of that. Let's wait for Game 7 on Wednesday. So I'm kind of nervous now, Colin, because, yeah, the Ducks, I think, in the last 4 years have gone out in a Game 7 at home. So I'm really not looking forward to, well, it'll be Wednesday my time. I'm guessing Tuesday night for you guys.
Yeah, it's me versus you, basically. It's the last great hope for Canada, and I guess one of our all-time favorite teams here in Canada. Every child of the 80s favorite team, the Oilers, versus you and your weird love for the Anaheim Ducks because of your weird love for Emilio Estevez. So
hey,
we're
no
going
love
to war
for Emilio
this
Estevez is weird. You take that back. He's a beautiful man, Colin Hilding.
I don't know if you follow the Pittsburgh or Washington series at all, or if you bother to watch those.
I've kept a bit of an eye on it, yes. I'm heavily rooting for the Capitals in this one.
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody here was optimistic, or at least Washington fans were optimistic when Sidney Crosby got, I think, his 13th concussion of the season, whatever it is, or his second or third case of the mumps. I don't know. He's either a hypochondriac or he's way too ill to be playing hockey. He doesn't seem to survive much. But no, he did come back, and I thought, well, when he came back in this most recent game, then that was it for Washington. Because Washington, honestly, I give a lot of the credit in the Toronto series to how well Toronto played, but in all honesty, Washington has not been playing great. and them to come back and to win the last game, that was exciting too. So maybe Crosby's concussion is going to affect them a little bit longer than they thought, or it's looking good, okay for Washington. I'm not going to say good because I'm going to shoot myself in the foot, and then they'll be out the next game. But there's still hope for Washington as well.
Well, in all the games that sort of heading in before today, all of them were even at 3-2, basically. And now, I mean, congratulations, first of all, let's say to Nashville. Great job. They're through to their very first conference finals. And look, I'm telling you now, no matter really who wins the West, I will probably root for them. I probably will do a U and jump on Edmonton if they beat us on Wednesday. But I'd be happy to see Nashville there too. I got to see Nashville play this season, so look, gonna always have a bit of a soft spot there. Pittsburgh, it won't go for them. But then I guess I look at the Rangers in Ottawa. The other Canadian team, clearly the one that Canadians care about the least. You love your capital there in Canada. My dad obviously very much into the Rangers because that's his team, and I don't mind the Rangers. I don't mind New York, but it's definitely if Washington win, if Pittsburgh get knocked out, I think we talked about this last week. We're going to have teams here that either have never won it before or have not won it in a very long time, and that to me is when I really get involved in any sporting competition, even if my teams are eliminated, because I like to see teams that have never won it before or have had a long drought finally come through for some success.
Yeah, I mean, if this comes down to Nashville, period, then I think the world is going to be shocked that Nashville can win at hockey. That's the thing that's going to be most exciting to watch.
I think more people have been paying attention to who's singing their national anthem at their games, right? It's like, it's Carrie Underwood this week. Then it's, so they'll get Keith Urban and Nicole Kidman to probably come. They live there, so...
Yeah. Do they sing at the Australian football games?
Well, Keith Urban did perform at the Rugby League Grand Final that I was at last year. And again, with Keith Urban, Australians love Keith Urban, but we don't know any of his songs. So it's kind of like, yay, Keith Urban! Let's all sing along to the songs. We have no idea what they are. I'm sorry.
The greater challenge will be if Nicole Kidman ever does join him, does she have the ability to move muscles in her face anymore? That's what I would wonder.
She starts singing "Come What May" or "Diamonds Are a Girl's Best Friend" or something like that. Now, Tim Hortons, you mentioned this just as we started recording. Look, for anybody who's listening to this who have no idea what Tim Hortons is, go out and find out what Tim Hortons is, because Tim Hortons, I guess you would describe it as Canadian Starbucks, but you might automatically groan and think, oh, I hate Starbucks. No, Tim Hortons is amazing. I love Starbucks, but I love Tim Hortons more. They have like the best coffee products, the best chocolate donuts, and just everything. I would have sex with Tim Hortons food. That is how much I love it. But they're going to the UK or something now, you were saying.
Yeah, they're expanding there, and it's funny because there's all these articles are saying that there's all the skepticism about whether they could survive there because coffee isn't as popular as tea, and I'm like, You walked into Tim Hortons, they sell tea as well. It's not like coffee is the only thing they sell. I mean, personally, I don't drink coffee at all. I can't eat their donuts. I can't eat most of their food. But it is exciting that, the biggest company, like if you're going to compare Starbucks to Tim Hortons, I don't think that Starbucks in the United States has as much of a stranglehold on the market as Tim Hortons has here. No. Tim Hortons here in Canada, I think they sell 80% of the coffee in the entire country.
Wow.
So it's like not even close. And of course, Tim Horton was like a famous hockey player, so all that works in their advantage here in Canada. But I know it exists in America. It's not one of these big things there. Certain cities have it. I don't know if they've expanded to any other countries yet other than America, but the people who seem to be skeptical about it in the UK just seem to be focusing on, well, we don't really like coffee here. Okay, then get, as you said, one of their chocolate donuts or their drinks or whatever. I mean, they have lots of chocolate drinks and things like that, fruit smoothies, whatever it is. There's more options than just coffee there, so be a little bit more open, all you
British
UK people. What do you call British?
Poms. We call them Poms. I don't know if that's technically a derogative term now in 2017, but that's the Australian nickname for them is Poms. But I don't know what that means. Don't ask me. I don't know the history, but it's probably the most racist thing I've ever said.
It probably means something that you don't know, and you just there's some racial slur everybody in the UK.
But I've been to Canada 3 times. I'm about to go there for a 4th time in a few weeks. And there's generally 2 things I always do when I go to Canada. It's find out where I can get poutine and find the nearest Tim Hortons. It's just a go-to thing. And it's just the first time I ever went to Toronto in our hotel, we had a Tim Hortons in the lobby of our hotel. And I remember we just would go down there at like 11 o'clock at night and just get a hot chocolate. The best hot chocolate I've ever had in my life. Nothing has even topped that hot chocolate. And then even in Calgary, there was one directly opposite my hotel. So like again, the midnight, hey, I'm just going to go get I think I got like a bagel or something like that. Because I mean, bagels aren't even a thing in Australia. I know they're more of an American thing probably, but still, I was like, hey, cool, bagels. And it just, I just get so excited. I say Tim Hortons and I'm like, fuck, it's Tim Hortons. I'm getting some.
And there's probably always like a lineup of about 30 people waiting, I'm guessing, because that's the way it is.
Yeah, it's crazy. And like, I'd never actually heard of it, I think, until I went there. And, I mean, if they're going to the UK, hell, look, you know, if the UK want to try and bring the whole Commonwealth thing back and rule the world, like, help out Canada by getting Tim Hortons to spread through. Bring it to Australia. I'll help bring it to Australia. I don't know. I'll put it in my suitcase after I've come back from my trip. So I don't know if I can put a whole store in there. But hey, look, I can try.
But they sell their products. So you can take some back as souvenirs.
I never even noticed that. I didn't realize. I was too busy just getting excited.
You can buy it right behind the counter. I can't believe you haven't done that.
I'm just too busy staring at stuff. If I mean, I don't think they do poutine at Tim Hortons, but
no. Well, when you said that, the first thing I thought to myself is like, think about the market they could capture if they did that.
Yes,
purely Canadian.
Do you like poutine? Is that like a Canadian thing that Canadians actually like poutine, or is that just one of those things that, you know, people are always fascinated by, but Canadians actually really hate it?
No, most Canadians do love it. I think I've made it clear on all of our shows. I'm kind of the world's worst Canadian. It's not something that I dislike, but if I'm gonna ask, if my wife's like, "What do you want me to make, you know, for your birthday or whatever?" I mean, I'll probably have 50 other foods that come up before I would even think of that. And of course, I don't drink coffee as well, so I am the world's worst Canadian.
And you secretly hate hockey. To you, Wayne Gretzky's overrated.
That's right. And I secretly love Nickelback and Justin Bieber. Therefore, I am the world's worst Canadian.
Wow, I just heard the words "I love Nickelback" in a sentence.
I just heard my wife in the background not realizing the sarcasm, going, "Ew!"
What do you think? Do you think Jamie would leave you quicker if you openly admitted you're a Nickelback or a Madonna fan?
Oh, we can ask her. Let me ask her.
Come on, Jamie. This is the question. I want to hear this.
This is going to be the segment of Jamie yelling something in the background. Would you leave me quicker if I was secretly a Madonna fan or a Nickelback fan?
It's silent.
She said Madonna because if I was, she'd be afraid I was actually into Nickelback for other reasons.
Good answer. Good answer, Jamie. Yeah. Well done. That's why Avril Lavigne married him, I think. Don't know how that was. Yeah. Anyway, it's always fun. Go Ducks this time in a week. I guess we will officially know how much the Ducks suck in Game 7. And how much Tim Hortons has spread its coffee on the world. But as always, thanks, E.
All right, E.
Haven't brought you a classic interview in some time. Thought we'd bring you one this week, given it's Eurovision week, and you know we always get excited for Eurovision. And we, back in 2014, spoke to one of the then two co-hosts of the Australian coverage of Eurovision, Mr. Sam Pang, who sadly is not doing the coverage this year with Julia Zemiro. Very disappointed in that. But this was a lot of fun chatting to Sam back in the year 2014 about Eurovision and, of course, about Carlton, given he is a Carlton supporter. So let's see how this goes. And just also, quickly, before we do hear how it goes, if you're a fan of Eurovision, one of our sister shows, Eurozvision, a podcast we started back in 2015 to talk about Eurovision, took last year off, but it's back this year. We are recording 3 special episodes for Eurovision 2017. Just search for Eurozvision on Facebook and on Google. You will find us and you will be able to hear our episodes. So just thought I would do a shameless plug right there. Right now, though, you're going to hear from Sam Pang from 2014. Sam Pang is one half of the SBS hosting team heading to Copenhagen in Denmark this weekend to cover the 59th Eurovision Song Contest. I spoke to Sam about hosting the event each year and just who his tip is to win the event. Sam, welcome to the Brink and Edge Radio.
Oh, thank you for having me, Ben. It's great to be here.
Massive pleasure to have you here as well. I think you're probably the first person I've ever spoken to direct from Denmark. Can I just point that out? And obviously it's a big week for you and Julia hosting Eurovision again, 6th year in a row both of you have been involved in. I mean, this is something you must look forward to every year, to be able to travel to Europe and cover this event.
I do, Ben. I do really look forward to it. You know, it's not Eurovision, not something that I it's no big secret. I didn't actually grow up with Eurovision. It wasn't a big part of my life. Julia, on the other hand, had followed it closely from. I think she says from the womb. That's how far she goes back. But the last 6 years have been they've been wonderful. It was quite a shock. And then you get over here, and then you just I'm a convert. I seriously just look forward to it every year. It really is like the definition of an extravaganza. It's an amazing week, and all culminates with the two semi-finals and the final, and it's just visually it's stunning, and being here is a privilege.
Well, it's something that each year certainly has various amount of talking points around all the acts and all the songs. I mean, do you go each year into it, Sam, with an open mind, just kind of not knowing what to expect?
I think you have to, Ben. I think you have to. That was, the first one 6 years ago was, I didn't know what to expect, and as every year's gone past, the Eurovision throws up something different, and you kind of that's that old expect the unexpected, and that's what happens at Eurovision. So every year there's just acts that you can't believe you're seeing, and you just enjoy and just embrace everything that's going on. And so there's the stuff that goes on on stage, Ben, but there's the backstage stuff is it's crazy, and hopefully we capture that as best we can, and between the two of them, I think it's it's not a bad couple of hours on the Friday, Saturday, Sunday night, just to sit back and enjoy the madness.
Absolutely agree with you, and the coverage on SBS this year is expanding, of course, with the semis and the final that you have mentioned over Friday, Saturday and Sunday, the Eurovision quiz contest every night on SBS2, SBS Radio, playing Eurovision songs all week. I mean, with the amount of coverage that no doubt you and Julia are also providing behind the scenes and everything, do you get a chance to sleep at all this week, Sam?
No, well, jet lag hasn't helped, man. Not that I'm complaining, but that's not a great start to getting a full 8 hours sleep, or the 14 hours that I'm used to. But you mentioned all that coverage. I haven't seen the quiz show. Hopefully, because I wasn't involved in that, but apparently it was a lot of fun to do. So that's a nice warm up to. If you can't wait for Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I think Monday, all this week on SBS2, I think there's a quiz with Julia and a host of others. So, if you're really into it and you can't wait for Friday, then this a little quiz every night that I think it sounds like a lot of fun. But not much sleep, mate. But that's all right. It's well worth it.
I can imagine. I'm learning a lot actually watching the quiz, and I could imagine that Copenhagen buzzing at the moment with Eurovision fever. I mean, how in the short time you've been there have you found the locals? Is everyone excited for Eurovision coming back to Denmark?
Yeah, I think they genuinely are. That's not always the case. Then sometimes you get to the host city and you run into some. Certain people that could take it with a grain of salt, but it seems to be so far over here. Everyone is just, they've had. I like that you have a year. The host city has a year to get ready for it, Ben. So everyone's ready. The town seems, quietly buzzing, and there's lots of billboards. There's lots of clubs that are Eurovision themed for the week, and I think that Denmark are going to put on quite a show. It's quite a stunning location that they've put it on. They've kind of reconstructed an old shipping yard.
Wow!
So there's something new.
Wow!
Yeah,
very much so. We look forward to seeing that. Huge Australian connection this year too. Very own Jessica Mauboy performing on the second semi-final. I mean, how much of just a big coup is this? Not just for Jessica, but for Australia as well to play such a big part in this event.
It's a really good point, Ben. It's massive. Like you said, we've been covering it for 6 years, and if you'd said to me on that first year, way back in Moscow, that there'd be an Australian on stage, back then we were lucky to get in. So Julia and I were just lucky to get into the venue. So it's definitely grown. I think the interest in Eurovision has just got bigger and bigger and bigger, and now, as you mentioned, can you believe it? On the Saturday, your time, there's Jessica Mauboy is part of. So obviously, it's good. It's good to be clear that Australia aren't competing. It's just that during the votes, when the votes are getting counted, they have an interval act, of which Jessica is going to be on stage performing, and it's massive. It's just like I really actually can't believe that it's happening. But we can't wait for it. Can't wait to see what a performance she does. And like I said, if you tell me 6 years ago that there'd be an Aussie on stage at Eurovision for semi-final 2, I wouldn't have believed it.
Well, it's certainly going to be great. Who knows, Sam? Special entry one year. They might say to us, "Come on, Australia, be part of Europe for a year," or something like that.
Can you imagine? And then after that, hosting it, and then I don't know what's next after that. Then, but we'll see how Jess goes on in semi-final 2, and then I really, it's such an open book now because. From Julia and I struggling to get into the venue 6 years ago to just being on stage, it's quite a journey.
Certainly is, and I think also the fact that it is in Denmark. I mean, we have close ties with Denmark. Tasmania's very own Princess Mary, of course, is a big part over there, Sam. So look, I think it's just Denmark loves Australia so much that's where it comes from as well.
I think you're right, Ben. I think we've been pretty well treated over here, and I think that the princess has a lot to do with that. As his own. I like that.
Yes, very proud. Very proud of her down here, I'll say that. Now, so many great songs in this year's contest. A lot of talking points, as I said, as always. We've got a bearded lady, songs about cakes and moustaches. Do you have a personal favourite so far that you're really looking forward to seeing?
You mentioned the cakes being baked. That's from memory. I'm losing track, but I think that's Latvia. Latvia this year, singing the song "Cake to Bake," and
yes.
It's a powerful message, Ben. You know, man. So that's there's so many. Sometimes songs have layers, you know, man, and there's subtle messages, and I think that one is, it's a catchy tune. I won't deny that, but. Just it's from bearded ladies and I don't know, giants and fire and giant drums. Every now and then, a song as simple as "Cake to Bake" can really steal the show. I mean, it's actually a good reminder of I really have no idea what to expect in Europe.
Well, we hope to see that come out on top. I mean, do you have a tip that you think will win? I mean, I'm hearing a lot of the bookies saying someone like Armenia might be on top, or the Ukraine's in with a good shot. I mean, do you have a tip who you think is going to win?
It's a good point. To the bookies, as in life, somehow seem to get they're pretty close most years. So if Armenia, as you said, they seem to be the favourite at the moment, but Ukraine with their song "TikTok" is a little bit of a dark horse and a favourite. So every now and then during the voting for on the final, I have this dawning realisation of whoever wins, they get to host it, and Julia and I could possibly be off there the next year. So if it's a choice between Armenia and Ukraine, I don't know. Look,
it's tough to choose at the moment.
Look, put it this way: I'm not sure I'll ever. I've never been to Armenia. I may not, get there. Mm-hmm. Life's very short, so if Eurovision takes me to Armenia, I'll be happy with that.
You'd be happy with that, yes, indeed. And just quickly, before I let you go, Sam, just on a complete side note, I know you're a fellow Carlton fan like myself, Sam. You're a very intelligent man. I mean, are you going to get a chance to be able to get back or sort of go to a pub somewhere there in Denmark on Monday to be able to watch the game against the Saints after the finals all done and dusted?
Well, I didn't know you're a Carlton man, Ben. We should have had a minute's silence at the start of this phone call.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm hoping to get there on Monday, but I might be in transit. I might be on the way back. I don't walk around. I get home, but it's. Look, all I'll say, I think if we beat the Saints, a top 2 finish is still not mathematically impossible. You know what I mean? So,
well, that's the thing. You got to be positive about these things, Sam. Yes.
You got to be positive. So, it's a tough year.
Very much so. And Stephen Bradbury did it, and Carlton can do it too. We've got to have faith. Now, of course, you can see Sam alongside Julia Zemiro as part of SBS's coverage of Eurovision happening this weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Complete coverage across the 3 days, and you can find more details sbs.com.au/Eurovision. Sam, massive pleasure having you on the show here, mate, and best of luck this weekend in Denmark, and go Blues.
Yes, thanks very much, Ben. I had a lot of fun, and thanks for having me, and enjoy Eurovision.
time to close out another episode of The Brink. Episode 24 is now in the books, and we'll be back, of course, next week, episode 25. And if you missed our announcement during the week, our next Brink Unleashed film called Brink Unleashed 7, A Legacy, is coming your way. We'll be releasing around August. I'm heading off for about 7 weeks in about 2 weeks, but still be doing the episodes of the show, I should say, on the road, so it's not like I'm going anywhere too much that we still can't bring you some fantastic content while I'm out there traveling the globe. But of course, as always, you know that Brink Unleashed comes along with any traveling, so you'll get to see those adventures along the way. Stay tuned for that. The post looks fantastic. Check it out on our website, which is of course our Facebook page, facebook.com/Brink Radio Show. And of course, on this journey, I will be venturing as part of it to a fundraising event in Ohio, in Cincinnati to be precise. It's raising funds for JDRF, juvenile diabetes cause, also raising funds for type 1 diabetes research. I will be there attending it with some Survivor contestants and just hanging out, having some fun. Lots of coverage. If you're a Survivor fan, you'll be able to check that out via the Oz Network. But please, if you head to that page as well, you'll be able to see links where you can donate to this cause, and trying to raise $250 in the lead up to this event, so any amount will help along the way. So please check that out, donate for a worthy cause, and also check the Oz Network out too. We're putting some great content out there with some interviews. The interviews also are coming through over on Off the Podium, another one of our sister shows. If you're an Olympics fan, got some great guests that we've had on that show in the last week or so, and as I mentioned earlier in this episode, Euros Vision as well coming back. Lots of stuff going on throughout all our different sister shows throughout it. And if you're in Hobart and you're tuning into High Noon on Fridays between 12 and 2 p.m, we've got the Premier of Tasmania, Will Hodgman, on this week, so also check out that as well. Lots coming your way if you like my voice, and if you don't like my voice, well, then maybe you won't like all those other shows. But you can subscribe to us on iTunes, Stitcher. If you have missed any episodes, you can find all the old episodes there. Please do rate us and leave us feedback while you're there. We very much like to hear your feedback of the program. And as always, we'll be back next Monday for more exciting Brink content. We appreciate your company. We appreciate you listening. If you're in Italy, hello, buongiorno. If you're in America, howdy y'all. And if you're in Australia, g'day mate. And thanks for your time. As I always do, close out every single episode of The Brink with thanks for tuning in. Keep sucking those oranges, Hobart. And good night.